Coming to you on this bright, sunny day from Austin, Texas, it's Color Commentary, and we are Michael Pejek
and Adrian Gonzalez.
So we're coming back after a week off.
Well,
quote
unquote.
Yeah,
We had the
Go ahead.
We're just
we're rusty and excited, and it's just not a good combo.
we had the Pats Rags to Riches tournament, which we did coverage of. You can find that coverage on our YouTube channel. Really great time. Mike and I had a blast. There are definitely some technical issues that we are going to overcome the next time we do that. But all in all, great time.
Yeah. I think it was a really, really solid day. I was tired as hell by the end of it. Like, we were there casting for 8 to 10 hours, somewhere in there. Like, it was a marathon.
We got there around 8. We started streaming around 9:30, and we stopped, I want to say, around 5 or 6, maybe 7.
Yeah,
I can't really remember.
That's about 9 to 10 hours.
But one thing we did confirm is that Drake is a powerful card.
Yeah, we had 4 Drake decks out of a field of 35, and 2 of them made it into the top 8.
And they were both the finalists.
Yeah.
So, but to be honest with you, those were probably 2 of the best players there.
Yes.
Just because REA is a silver level pro, and I believe that Jeremy has top 8'd a couple, maybe 1 or 2 Grand Prix. I'm not sure of the numbers.
Yeah, no, they were both very serious players, and, it was really good to watch, but it also does point to the fact that, this deck is a little busted.
And both of them, I asked both of them, I was like, do you think Drake's going to be banned? And both of them, without hesitation, yes.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to ban this. And REA pointed out to me that every time a deck of this nature has been allowed in Pauper, he's been there pretty early on. He told me since the old user-created format days. He told me every time this type of deck has been around, Wizards has banned it.
Yeah, I don't think it's healthy. I kind of want to move on from there. There were some sweet brews that we got to see. We got to show off some of the differences of like our meta to like the online meta. Game round 1. I don't know if we ever actually said it on air because we asked while we were like in a commercial break. There was a card Deja Vu from Portal that got used. It's a sorcery, 2 and a blue, and return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. And I had actually never seen that card to the point where we were both sitting there dumbfounded trying to figure out what on earth just happened. And we also, I believe you interviewed Nathan about teachings with Thorn of the Black Rose.
Right.
Yeah.
So some pretty sweet tech there.
Yeah, so we went to F&M this week. I played Pig Trinket, you played Affinity. Things went as expected.
I have 3 1s, Mike 0-4'd.
No, 1-3'd.
You 1-3'd? Okay.
Yeah.
So the most interesting part of the night was my first round opponent was Aaron, and he was on One Land Spy.
Yep.
He won.
He won against me. Yeah, he won his match against me. I don't have early game interaction, and I couldn't mull into a Nihil Spellbomb quickly enough.
Right.
So, I'm not too angry about that one. But it was cool to see the deck in play. He was using the version that has the Infinite Loop main board
with Disciple of the Vault and Conjurer's Bubble.
Yep, and then he boarded into the thing that I couldn't interact with outside of Nihil Spellbomb, the Haunting Misery, and also boarded into Ingot Chewers.
Yeah, he brought this in for me too.
Yeah,
shocker.
But no, pretty good time. We had a lot of Drake decks this week,
and we're gonna touch on it very, very briefly. Because it's not really part of the podcast, but Mike and I are getting into Pokemon. All right, moving on.
Yeah, no, our LGS has started doing Pokemon card game events as well, and we're reliving.
We're already thinking about a peasant version that we could possibly play.
We're reliving middle school, actually grade school.
I'll be honest with you, I got started in Pokemon. That's where my first love for trading card games started. I used to trade Magic cards for Pokemon cards. In retrospect, don't know if that was a good idea. I don't really remember what I traded. I had like Starter 2000. I traded a bunch of those cards for Pokemon cards.
You're probably actually, if I remember correctly, Starter 2000 is ridiculously priced because it was underprinted. So you may have lost out in the long run, but
I had that sweet foil rocks for a long time. I love that card.
Yeah,
it's just a rhinoceros with a club. It's awesome.
Yeah, and they still make Roxas.
They're
on Alara.
Yes, they're still a creature type, but this card was just called Rocks.
Yes, and it's got that weird, like, it can deal damage as though it weren't blocked, right?
I don't know, something. It's a weird card.
They really liked those for the starter sets for some reason. All right, well, first off, we got to get to a deck tech. We have had so many requests for this since we showed it on camera. We're talking about Esper Tortex. I think at this point I have had like legitimately 6 or 8 people ask about this deck and when they can get a list for it.
Well, so my theory behind this is Tortex is sort of one of the pet decks of the format.
Definitely.
You know, people love Tortex.
Yeah.
Then you know what? That's your prerogative.
Well, I mean, it's an engine-based deck that doesn't really have like a set list, and I think people are intrigued by the fact that there's got to be a solution, right? Like, there's got to be a better version of this that we could throw together, and this one has a lot of stuff in it that appeals to me.
This is definitely one of the better, if not the best, Tortex list I've seen.
Well, so I was talking with Jake, and he said that he brewed this up after actually listening to one of our episodes where he covered the Mardu version.
Which, interestingly enough, was also at F&M last week.
Yeah. But he basically said, you know how we mentioned it's just a bunch of value creatures and you're playing Tortex kind of incidentally? This deck kind of applies that as well. Like, it's just playing a bunch of really good value creatures that get better when you can start looping them with Tortex. So let's get into it. So first off, we got 3 Auramancers, and if you watch the stream, you know that there's something else here.
Right. So the 3 Auramancers, there's definitely an enchantment sub-theme in the deck. Not only does it get back Tortex, but there are also some single shot enchantments that it gets back.
We'll get to Auramancer. Auramancer is a very, very interesting beast in this deck. 1 copy of Cephalid Sage, the recently downgraded in Eternal Masters. It is a 2/3 for 4, I believe. But it has Threshold. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3, discard 2.
Yeah, and Mike said this wasn't going to be a thing, and I said it might be a thing, and Mike was like, "It's not going to be a thing," and yet here it is.
I was actually the one who suggested it to him. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, maybe you might want to do this because it works really well in a graveyard-based deck. It's pretty much just a repeatable draw 3, get stuff you want in your bin.
Right.
We got 2 copies of Crypt Rats. Obviously, you need to be able to clear the board every now and then.
It could be a finisher too.
Yes, can be a finisher if you start recycling it. 2 copies of Fume Spitter. It's really, really good against Delver, it turns out.
And Elves.
Just being able to targetedly remove any X1 at instant speed and being able to not have to fight through counter magic to do it is really good. We got 1 copy of Gurmag Angler,
the beatdown.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of an obligatory inclusion in a lot of the Tortex lists. It's just it's good. Your graveyard's usually full, and there's usually stuff in there you don't want to get back.
Right.
2 copies of Lone Missionary. Able to loop them for 4 life. I'm looking at the list. He does forgo the uncastable Golgari Brown Scales, and I think that the 2 Lone Missionaries are kind of the reason why. They're also an efficient life gain engine. They're a little bit easier to interact with than the Brown Scale loop, but it also means they're not a dead card. Like, a 2/1 for 2 is not the worst body.
One thing I would point out, too, about Golgari Brown Scale is that since you're dredging it, you always have a creature in your hand for Tortex, whereas with Lone Missionary, that might not always be the case.
Yeah.
So I would like to point that out.
Yeah, I think it's mainly just the fact that it's castable.
Right.
Versus just having this card that exists only for this silly 2-life shenanigan. We got 4 Muldrifters. Again, very good reason to play blue. Turns out that card is just very good. Like,
it's almost the face of our format too. Like, Muldrifter just goes in so many decks.
For a mid-range deck, definitely. Like, if I think like mid-range and Pauper, the first thing that pops to mind is, all right, where are you putting your 4 Muldrifters? And how many other blue cards are you playing to complement them?
Muldrifter is just, it's an incredible card. It's just an incredible card. It's awesome.
Yeah. We got 4 Squadron Hawks. Really neat interaction with Tortex because, if you need to get a bunch of stuff back, you can Squadron Hawk, and then you've got 3 things to pitch.
Right.
Also, it's just, as people joke, Ancestral Recall on a body. It's a card that draws you 3 cards, right?
It draws you 3 copies of itself.
Yes.
Calling it Ancestral Visions is a little ambitious, in my opinion, but I do understand why people make that connection.
Then next up we got 3 Stinkweed Imps, kind of the perennial big dredge effect. Also very good against Delver because it does have that pseudo death touch.
Yeah, it's a great blocker.
Yeah, it blocks for days. It can get in for damage as well.
It's almost impossible to kill.
Yeah. And then 2 Wretched Gryphs. Wretched Gryph is the 7 mana one with Emerge for 5 and a blue. 3/4, sorry. And when you cast it, you draw a card. I mean, again, you're in a graveyard-based deck. Like, sacking the creature's not such a big deal, and you can Mull Drifter into this, which is pretty sweet.
So just to recap, we have only 1 4-of or 2 4-ofs, which are Mull Drifter and Squadron Hawk, and then we have a bunch of utility creatures.
Yeah, and lands pretty much what you'd expect. We've got a nice mix of the gain lands, a couple of the Karus, some Evolving Wilds, which is kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure.
Well, there's 8 basics, so
yeah, there are 8 basics. Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense to me. But yeah, pretty standard land suite. I'm kind of surprised. I kind of might like to have the one of Bajukabog in there.
Bajukabog is a good card.
Yeah, I mean you're already playing what? 3 bounce lands in this list, so you're going to get to use it again. Now we move on to the enchantment suite, and this is pun fully intended, actually sweet. So we got 2 Angelic Renewals, and this got to get shown off a lot on our stream. Angelic Renewal is 1 and a white, I believe. It's an enchantment when a creature you control dies, when a creature you control dies, you get the option to sacrifice the Angelic Renewal and return the creature to the battlefield.
So this is an infinite loop with Oromancer.
Yes. It just gives you a 2/2 that blocks forever. It also just winds up being a value thing. There was a sideboard card when I played against him last night. It's an evoke creature that makes the opponent discard 2 cards. Turns out that with Angelic Renewal on the field is pretty much a mind twist. So yeah, it's got a lot of utility in this list. It's kind of a onboard Undying Evil, I guess, in a way. It just kind of gets your thing back once, but you've got Oromancers to get that back. We got a pair of Deadweights, enchantment-based removal that you can get back with the Oromancer again. A pair of Journey to Nowheres, just really solid white removal. A Seal of Doom, which is it's not Doomblade. It is, what is it?
No, it's Doomblade on an enchantment.
Yeah, but it costs 1 more, and there's Dark Banishing. 2 and a black, enchantment, sacrifice it, destroy target non-black creature. And then, of course, 4 Tortured Existence. So this seems like a pretty sweet toolbox, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, lots of neat effects that you can kind of abuse with the Oromancer.
I would like to point out, there's also 3 sorceries, a Chainer's Edict, and 2 Deep Analysis.
Yep.
I would like to point out this deck is a little soft to Drake mainboard. Sideboard things get a little better, but the lack of instant speed removal outside of the Seal of Doom, could create some problematic scenarios. Yeah,
I mean, Seal of Doom's pretty good in this situation.
There's only one of them, though.
There is only one of them. There is also the Crypt Rats. You can do stuff with that.
Crypt Rats is very good.
But looking at the sideboard, pair of Chainer's Edicts, pair of Choking Sands, Cop Red, another Crypt Rats, pair of Fairy Macabres.
And those are definitely in against Drake.
Oh, yeah. Actually, just super good against graveyard decks as well. You know, the ability to fizzle opposing Tortured Existences.
Well, and also you can get them back with your own Tortured Existence.
Exactly.
It's very, very strong in this type of deck.
Kami of False Hope. Kami of False Hope is the white Spore Frog. It's 1 white for a 1/1. You can sacrifice it to Fog for a turn.
Yes, very, very strong.
Mournwelk. That's the one. That's the one that just completely blew me the hell out when I played against this on Friday.
And I watched it, and it was
it's not fun.
It looked upsetting.
Yeah,
but then you pitched Chainer's Edict and Deep Analysis, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, it was still pretty rough in terms of just pitching 4 cards is never good. Like, even if every one of them has utility in the graveyard, it's like, this doesn't feel great. We got 2 Seal of Cleansing. That's the disenchant as an enchantment. And 1 Wispmare, which is a evoke creature that blows up an enchantment on ETB.
Right.
So this whole list, like, it does a lot of the Tordex things, like the things you expect a deck like this to do. And it also does some things that you kind of don't. Like, Muldrifter seems very nice when you can recur them. And also just, like, providing a constant stream of card advantage that isn't dredging 5 all the time.
Right, which is one of the problems that decks like this have, is dredging away your whole library and then not being able to close out the game potentially. But Muldrifter makes sure that a lot of those... But then, a lot of these cards that they're in the graveyard, it doesn't really matter. Like the enchantments, it's like, okay, you can Ormance in the back. The Ormance is in your graveyard. You can pitch a creature to get the Ormance or to get the enchantment. Like, there are a lot of cards in this deck that aren't dead in the graveyard. I think the only ones that might be are the lands, in fact. They're just straight up, you can't do anything with them again.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it would be worth getting into green for selling, like, Tilling Treefolk.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, looking at this list, there's, like, a lot of neat things. I'd kind of be interested to see a version of this that maybe tones down the Oromancer package in favor of cutting some of those for Archaeomancers and maybe playing a little bit more instant speed interaction.
Right. I think Snuff Out would be good in this deck.
Yeah. Although Snuff Out's really best against, like, the combo decks where you just need an answer. And I feel like you got a decent amount of stuff here. Also, Snuff Out does require you to have a swamp, and there are only 4 of them in the deck.
Right.
So maybe not that, but I'd be interested to see a version that plays Archaeomancer with a package of instants and sorceries it can get back from the bin. I don't know, just something I'd think about. But if we don't have anything else to say, we can move on to the economic side of things.
Yeah, go ahead, take it away.
All right,
I don't think it's on my little screen here.
All right, so we've got
it is.
We got prices here. From TCG Player, at time of recording, this deck in total would cost you $41.39 to own in paper.
A steal, honestly.
And online, Card Hoarder has all these cards for 27.4 ticks.
And I would go ahead and say that probably the most expensive cards in this deck are the 3 copies of Chainer's Edict, and online it's probably the Crypt Rats.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Because the rest of these cards are dirt cheap. As far as crossover goes, Squadron Hawk, Stinkweed Imp, Wretched Griff, Muldrifter, Lone Missionary, basically every single card in this deck except maybe Cephalid Sage has some crossover with another deck.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, the lands are all things that get played. Like, every pauper legal, like, Karoo, Gainland, and...
Well, these are like the shocklands of our format. You should own 4 of all of the Karoo lands and 4 of all of the game lands.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be brewing the stuff. The enchantment package is a little bit more limited. Seal of Doom, I don't really see that much. Angelic Renewal is another kind of fringe one. But Deadweight does see play from time to time in mono black. And
Journey is a sideboard card for mini decks, and then Tortured Existence, of course, if you're building more Tordex decks, get 4 copies of Tordex.
Yeah, Chainer's Edict and Deep Analysis are both, format staples. I'd definitely say, like, you can't go wrong with those. And a lot of the sideboard cards here, except for Kami of False Hope, Mournwelk, and Wispmare, I've seen before. Like Choking Sands goes into mono black, Chainer's Edict goes into mono black, Cop Red goes into almost any white deck. Fairy Macabre goes into a decent amount of decks as a sideboard card.
Yeah, you don't even have to be in black to play Fairy Macabre.
And I see Seal of Cleansing from time to time as a sideboard option for white decks. So honestly, if this sounds like it's up your alley, I'd pull the trigger on it. Like, it seems like a pretty sweet version of Tordex. And on top of that, none of these cards are, like, only going to see use in this deck. So I definitely think, I would say, if a graveyard deck appeals to you and you're looking for something new,
if you're already on Tordex, this deck is probably going to be very cheap. Also, you probably already own most of these cards.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on. So we're returning to a segment that we started last week, and I think we've decided we're calling it the Maybe Board, where we talk about cards that are super sweet but don't really have a home yet. You wanna lead us in for what this week is?
Sure. This week in the Maybe Board, we have Coiling Oracle.
So it is a 1/1 for a blue and a green. It is what is it? It's a snake.
It's a snake elf druid. Maybe.
Druid?
I don't know.
It's got 3 very disparate creature types.
Yeah, it's like a snake. I'm pretty sure it's a snake elf druid.
But the important part is when it ETBs, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a land, it goes into play. If it is a non-land, it goes to hand.
Right. So either it's a ramp spell or it's a draw spell. And I will point out that Andrew Webb's Bant Drake deck that we did get on camera is playing this card.
So I really like it. It seems like it's all upside. What's the catch here?
That it's blue and green, right? Like, we have here a link that's Elvish, a note that it's Elvish Visionary plus. But Elvish Visionary is green and 1, so it goes in Elves. Elvis doesn't play this card because it is blue in the casting cost.
Yes.
And typically those lists only have like 13 lands. I mean, I guess you could play it because you have Birchfloor Rangers, but I feel like more often than not, this card is going to get stuck in your hand.
Yeah, and as you said, like blue-green just isn't a color combination that sees a lot of play. Earlier this year, there was it this year or was it late last year? There was that Simic Evolve deck that put up some 5-0s for a while.
I don't even know what that deck is. Did it play this card?
I think it might have, but even then, it's like it's not really contributing to your game plan. So it definitely kind of fits that spot of like, this is sweet, but I don't want to be forced into playing these 2 colors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could go into the Simic Emerge deck easily.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of sweet there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sacking it for 2 mana off and like maybe getting some ramp, that seems okay.
But it does not go into the UG Madness deck, or not Madness or Threshold deck. That's what I'm trying to say, because it just doesn't do a whole lot. That deck's creature slots are dedicated to its threats, which are Mongoose, Bear, and Delver.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it should be all upside because we are very much a format that cares about creatures that are decently priced with a sweet ETB effect.
Maybe in your Sultai Tordex list, this could be a thing.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't know. It does have some like weird issues where like if you cast this dude on turn 2 and you hit a Karoo land, you might be over 8 cards in hand.
Right.
Like, there's some slight awkward aspects to it, and also that 1/1 body it dies to everything.
Yeah, it does give you a nice chump blocker, though.
Like, even a 1/2, I would feel much better about this, because then it's at least, like, holding back an unflipped Delver, or, slowly eating away at your opponent's board if they're on White Weenie. There's just... The 1/1 kind of just always is going to die really quickly.
But like, it is such a sweet card, and I think we just go back around to the fact that bleed green is not really an archetype, or if it's a fringe archetype in 2 decks that are fringe decks and don't play this card anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the only other like blue-green deck I can think of is the Arcane Splice combo, and it doesn't want this.
Right. So I think that this deck would find a home if Sultai Tordex was a thing, which as we just touched on the Esper one, why not? You could cut the Oromancer build, which is the main reason that deck feels like it's in white anyway. And instead what you could do is you could go back to playing local gray brown scales. You could play all the good dredgers. You could play this card.
Yeah.
You could play the Mold Drifter package. But then I don't know why. Like even if you're Sultai, I still don't know why you would play this card, because that deck doesn't really care about ramping, nor does it really care about drawing cards.
See, I could see this finding a home in some sort of like mid-range deck that's not even really seeking to abuse it that much. It's just looking for, I need a blocker early, and this will ramp me into my late game a little bit quicker. I know right when Drake showed up, there was that blue-green list that Alex Ullman put out there. he was running these because you wanted to get to 5 mana as quickly as possible.
Right. And so in that instance, and the same as in Webb's Bant Drake deck, then it's good because then it's ramp and that deck wants card draw and wants all of its creatures to do something. And so what Webb was doing is he was flickering it also because he was playing the other one, not Ghostly Flicker, the one with flashback, Momentary Blink.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just seems like one of those things where this card is sweet all around. It just doesn't have a good home for it. And the decks that can already play it kind of don't need it. Like, Elves doesn't need another draw 1 effect. It needs another Distant Melody. Are there other
blue elves is my first question. The second question is, what if we forego the fact that it's an elf entirely and instead we look towards maybe some sort of green-blue snake deck that also plays Sakura Tribe Elder and this card for ramp, and then maybe its payoff card is that Orichi
Leaf Caller?
Yeah, where it converts mana, and then you play this in. See, that's where I stop.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do with that mana?
There's no payoff for Snake Tribal. There's a reason the only tribal decks we ever really see are elves and goblins.
Okay, here it is. Could you play this card in Freed from the Real? Or does that card care too much about its defenders?
Well, there's the build of it that runs no creatures, and it works off of Wind Zendikon and Lifespark Spellbomb to animate a land.
Mm-hmm.
And that deck does care about getting a lot of mana out quickly because it's fragile enough where it really needs a Giga Drowse to go off. So actually, maybe Freed from the Real might not completely hate this.
But I don't think Freed from the Real already plays this card.
No.
So I don't know if there's a reason for them to play it. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of blue-green decks, even no matter how fringe they are, blue-green decks that could potentially want an extra land. Okay, so what about just a straight blue-green ramp deck that also plays Explorer and Sakura Tribe Elder and then plays like Aurochs and Mold Drifters?
Okay, so just ramping up into the best like 5+ costed blue and green spells.
Right.
I kind of like, if you throw in the Emerge dudes, I kind of feel okay about that.
Like blue-green ramp. There we go. We got
like this guy, and then next turn, Fierce Empath, popping either the Fierce Empath or this. Maybe you get some Flicker because both of those dudes have ETB effects. I don't know. I'm not completely hating this as an idea.
I mean, this sounds like a very good casual deck. Blue-green ramp, fool around with your buddies. Maybe you could tune it enough to take it to a Pauper event.
So I mean, blue-green ramp definitely has decent targets for it. I know that it's pretty popular as like the blue-green archetype in a Pauper cube, mainly because blue-green's never had like a very consistent identity as to what it does.
This card is awesome in cube. Like that's This card in blue-green and cube is. Yeah, I would totally pick this up if I was in blue-green and cube.
Yeah, not like first pick. I feel like
I wouldn't take this card to get into blue-green. No,
but if you're already in blue-green and you see this, I feel like it's a snap pick. If it's like your second time seeing the pack, you're just like, yep.
Even first time around, if I was blue-green, I'll pack 1, and then I open this pack 2, I might take it.
Yeah, no.
Depending what else is in there.
That feels fair. It actually just got reprinted in Conspiracy 2, Take the Crown at Uncommon.
Nice.
For note. So
Stork.
Yeah, just to kind of close that segment out, doesn't really have a home, could have a home, seems sweet if it finds that home.
In fact, let's foster some community interaction here. Why don't some of you, I won't name names, but you know who you are, why don't you email us, colorcommentary@gmail.com. Send us your favorite lists that use this card, and we'll review one next episode.
Yeah, definitely. If you, or even if you don't have an existing list and you can brew something up real quickly and show it to us, sure, we'll definitely talk about it. And I'm pumped to see if someone can figure that out. Kind of moving on here. Our main discussion for today, Kaladesh. We're getting previews. WotC is going nuts right this moment in Seattle with a street fair. They've been doing all the panels talking about world building.
And they're also drinking copious amounts of almond milk.
Is that true?
They're going nuts.
Jesus. Oh, the bar has never been lower. But we haven't gotten that many spoilers for Pauper. So we're going to kind of try talking about the mechanics first.
Right. Well, and we have gotten some intriguing cards. The one that I like the best right now is Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, which is
well, yeah. Tell us about the mechanic that Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, which I am going to start saying wrong very quickly.
Yeah. WWPK, Mike. Come on, WWPK.
I don't like that any better, but I'll probably just call it Puzzle Knot. But
okay, puzzle. We'll call it Puzzle Knot.
Yeah. Tell us about what it does.
It's a 2-drop artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 energy counters.
And what are energy counters?
We don't know yet. Basically what they are is they're another resource that you're going to have to keep track of and that you can use to do things with other cards. And so really, you also gain 3 life, and then you can sack it for 2 and a green to get 3 more energy counters and another 3 life. But really, this card is intriguing, but it's really going to depend how good Energize is for us.
Well, so we've got one example here of a payoff card for this, and people have been saying this over and over. Energize is only going to be as good as the payoff cards are, because you can gain all the energy counters you want, but you got to have something you want to use them on.
Right.
So Wizards actually had a graphic during their presentation about mechanics where they showed off what the rough value of different amounts of energy was. They did say that one energy, one of the things it should be able to do is be roughly equivalent to 2 damage to your opponent, which seems very strong.
So
they said, what was it? One was enough to deal 2 damage. I remember 3 was getting a 1/1 flying Thopter. I want to say 2 was... I'm completely blanking on that one. One of them was draw a card.
Well, basically, then Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot then would be you gain 6 life and do 12 damage to your opponent.
Gain 3 still. It's only on ETB, I think.
Well, because you gain 6 energy total from the card.
Yeah. So here's an example of one of the payoffs that we have for our format. It's called Die Young, and it features one of the new races on Kaladesh, the Aetherborn, who are these kind of creepy, glowy dust people. They kind of look like Ashiok from Theros, even though they confirmed Ashiok is not an Aetherborn.
They're also kind of in World of Warcraft. They're the purple guys with the bandages.
Yeah. So Die Young, 1 and a black, sorcery, choose target creature. Okay. You get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay any amount of energy. The creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each energy paid this way.
The problem is that it's a sorcery.
Yeah, definitely. But if you go Puzzle Knot into this, you've got 5 energy counters. You can kill an angler. And then your second one, after you pop the Puzzle Knot, kills another angler.
Yeah, but you're also in green-black, and I don't know. I'm just not sure how I feel about Die Young specifically yet.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely it's the first we've gotten,
right?
But it looks promising in my opinion. Like, I definitely am looking at this being like, okay, though that's a non-negligible effect.
Well, so the other great thing about energy too, right, is that it's a free resource. Basically, you get it by playing cards, and it doesn't require mana to get energy. Like, you play a card anyway to get energy.
I think I'm not sure if we're going to see it at Pauper, but I'm thinking we're going to see something that converts mana into energy at some point.
Yeah. Well, there's also a card out right now, not in Pauper, where every time you play a land, you gain an energy.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's not going to be difficult to get energy. The main thing is going to be, what do I do with it now that I have it? Like,
right.
If there's nothing really great or aggressive that you can do with this, I'm worried this mechanic is just going to be kind of a do nothing in our format.
Yeah.
Because none of the cards they've previewed so far in terms of like getting energy really do much else. There's Live Fast, which is kind of the companion card to Die Young. 2 and a black. You draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. So Night's Whisper. And then you also gain 2 energy counters.
Right.
So I guess maybe that's Wizards saying like 1 generic mana is roughly equivalent to 2 energy, because comparing this with Night's Whisper, that's what it is. Like, Night's Whisper is 1 and a black. This is 2 and a black. So the only thing this does that Night's Whisper doesn't is give you 2 energy. So maybe that's the exchange rate.
Right. But then it's competing with Read the Bones, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not trying
yeah.
to be a Debbie Downer, but yeah, we're really just going to have to wait and see what the payoff cards for energy are and if they're worth playing these, maybe not as good versions of other cards we already have.
Yeah. Next on the list is Fabricate. So Fabricate is formatted as Fabricate and then a number. And what that means is when this enters the battlefield, you can either put X +1/+1 counters on it or get X 1/1 servo tokens. They're artifact creatures.
Right. And
this seems sweet.
I'm excited for the applications this might have in Affinity, just because if there's a common artifact creature that also makes a 1/1 servo token, like that could be good in Affinity. Mike and I were talking about it, though. It would have to be like a 1 or 2 cost artifact creature, and I'm not sure if they're going to print something that powerful as a common.
Yeah. So the big thing about these is, they can either make you go wide or they can make you go tall, but you can't split it up. Like if something has Fabricate 3, you can't go, okay, I'm going to put 2 counters on this and then get a 1/1.
Right.
So it definitely kind of forces you into these states where you got to pick what's best in the moment. But so far what we've seen of them, a lot of them are at least efficiently costed. There's one that we've seen that is a 2/2 with Fabricate 1 for 2 and a white. So it's either a 3/3 for 3 or it's a 2/2 and a 1/1 for 3.
And that's good in limited, sure, but in Pauper, we're going to need something a little better than that.
Yeah, I've been telling people, my called shot for this is we're going to see an 0/1 for white that has Fabricate 1.
And now, if that 0/1 for white is also an artifact creature, then I could see it maybe being good in Affinity. But as of now, that's going to be either like Squire or I don't know. It's just not that flashy.
Yeah. No, I'm just making the called shot that way people know that I am their prophet and they should bow before me.
I mean, don't we all already?
Interestingly enough, we did get a confirmation on colored artifacts.
There's a mythic. Verduran something verdant something hole.
I don't remember. All I remember about it is it's a 4/4 for 3 and 2 green, and you get to distribute 4 +1/+1 counters. So it can just be an 8/8 for 5.
Yeah, it's kind of like Armament Core in a way from Cons.
Yeah,
but obviously much better because it's not in 3 colors.
Yeah, it's just very, very brutally efficient. But I really hope that means we're going to get more colored artifacts because it means they can push the hell out of them.
Right, because in that case, we might see W artifact creature make a 1/1 artifact creature.
And if we see that, it gets slammed into cyborgs. Like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. And that's good enough in Affinity too. Creating 2 artifacts for 1 card is amazing. I mean, Flare Husk does something similar, but you don't get 2 artifacts out of the deal. You get 2 permanents.
Now, here's my question. You play a lot more Affinity. Do you reliably have a white source enough that you feel like that's going to be a guaranteed turn 1 or 2 that you can hit that?
I could. We have four drums, 4 stars. You could up the count to 4 ancient dens. But then the nut start would be something like, ancient den or card land Springleaf Drum. Then turn 2 you would play that and then free Frogmite. Yeah. And then you tap that for mana. Then now suddenly you have 3 mana. And then you cast your Frogmite, and then you have turn 2 Mirror Enforcers. It just seems like it'd be incredibly busted. So I mean, I'm holding out hope, but no guarantees.
Yeah, obviously, Affinity is Affinity and other artifact based decks are definitely the type of decks that are looking out the most for this set.
Well, and the reason for that also is that we don't get a lot of new cards. The last time Affinity got new cards was in Scars of Mirrodin.
Yeah, it's weird because Affinity is definitely a strong tier 1 deck, but it very rarely changes that much. You kind of have to wait until you get one of the Artifact Matters blocks.
Yeah.
Before it actually does anything.
So I'm looking forward to it as an Affinity player because now I have 2 sets of things that could potentially go into my deck.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of players are hoping for stuff for cyborgs, maybe that Grixis Metalcraft control deck. So there's definitely there's a lot of people waiting on stuff. it's unclear as to what we're going to get. But we got one more mechanic to discuss, and that is crew. Crew is also formatted as crew and a number. It's only printed on artifacts with the subtype vehicle. So yes, we've got cars now.
Vroom vroom.
We can now create a deck called Fast and Furious and have it be completely unironic and a good descriptor. So far, the only one we've seen. So how crew works is there's a number, and in order for the vehicle to become a creature, you have to tap creatures, any number of creatures with a total power equal to the crew number.
And so what's interesting about that is you can crew a vehicle and then use that vehicle to crew another vehicle.
Yes, because as everyone knows, I take my car, I drive it onto a larger car, I park, and then I can drive the larger car from inside my car, and then I drive that onto a boat, and now I'm driving a boat.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I don't know why people keep saying, oh, this is a flavor fail here. I don't know where you people are doing your driving.
Haven't you ever seen Voltron? God.
Yeah. Geez, people. But so far, the only one we've gotten is Sky Skiff. Another lovely one that I'm going to mispronounce in the future.
Wood Weaver's Puzzle Skiff.
Oh, God. It's just... I'm okay with pronouncing the words that are, Indian inspired. It's when they decide to put together a lot of similar sounding chunks of words, like Sky Skiff, that just feels really awkward in my mouth. But Sky Skiff is 2 colorless mana for a artifact vehicle. It's a 2/3, so not actually a creature, but it has crew 1. So you tap a 1-power creature or larger, and all of a sudden you have this 2/3 ready and raring to go. I have been a big advocate of this card. It seems like it's going to see some play.
It seems all right. I'm the only reason I'm not sure is because why aren't you playing Core Skyfisher if you're playing this card? Or there are tons of other 2-drop artifacts that just do more stuff.
All right, now hear me out on this. One of the early comparisons I saw, compare this to a creature land. It's the kind of thing where it's only a creature when you want it to be.
Okay.
Now, the catch being, unlike a creature land, it does require another creature on board.
Right.
But, for example, this, please note, the creature can have summoning sickness and still crew a vehicle. So
it's a cost.
It's a cost, yes. It's not... It doesn't get... It's one of those weird things where,
It's like
Springleaf Drum or your Battle Screeches or any of that. But let's say you're playing White Weenies. Just tons of tokens, and you get hit with Electrickery or Crypt Rats or even Cars Justice, and there's a total board wipe, but it didn't get your Sky Skiff. Hold on.
All right.
All you have to do is play a 1/1 as the aggro deck, and immediately your 2/3's back in the game.
All right.
So they dodge sorcery speed removal when you want them to. And the other place I had seen people talking about this is the Soul Sisters token build of White Weenie, where you kind of have a lot of 1/1s that you don't really want going into combat. They can hop in the skiff and swing in for 2.
I just think we're going to have to see a better vehicle than a 2/3 flyer.
Yeah. It's
a cool idea.
Yeah, it's not the most impressive. It interacts poorly with equipment as well, and you can't put an aura on this for more than a turn. Although Rancor does keep coming back.
All right. You can live over there in magical Christmas land and open your presents.
I mean, I don't hate this in Stompy, actually.
No, yeah, it's just like, what are you gonna cut?
What are you gonna cut?
Not Carrion Rangers, not Scargib Pit Skulk, not Solana Ledge Walker.
I don't know. It's an exciting new mechanic. I want it to be good.
I want it to be good too. I'm just on the pessimist here.
All right. So hit me with, what do you think? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. Give me an example of what you think a playable vehicle would look like.
How about the exact same card, but a 3/2?
So a 2-mana Delver that requires another creature to power it.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm actually pretty okay with that. Like, it's actually here. Think about it this way. It's kind of like a weird bone splitter in a way. Because you're still paying 2 mana to turn your creature, your 1x into 3 power.
Right. Okay, that makes I can see that. When you start thinking of it as like temporary equipment, then I can sort of see how it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's temporary equipment. Also, it does create that awkward statement of like, all right, so guy gets into this weird sky thing. I'm going to put an axe on this weird sky thing, and this sky thing is going to hit you with the axe. So, yeah, definitely like this is the most elegant way that they could do this mechanic. But it does create weird situations where it's like, I'm going to murder your car.
Honestly, if it was the exact same card, but crew it as a mana cost instead of a tap a creature cost, I might like it a little better. Because what it does is it prevents one of your other creatures from attacking as well or blocking. Which is kind of a high cost maybe in these aggro decks.
Yeah. I'm definitely thinking like we might see one that's just got like, I don't know, some absurdly huge toughness. And being able to kind of, if you have a blocker back and you need a bigger one.
Yeah.
The catch is, though, you can't activate it and then block with both creatures.
Right.
Like, it's kind of awkward in that respects, but I think vehicles are a cool mechanic. There's also the pilots that they've been doing.
It is a very, very cool mechanic. But the thing about all three of these mechanics we've talked about so far is it's still way too early to see what kind of impact they might have on the format, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to call that I think Fabricate has the highest chance of being an impactful mechanic because it is exactly the sort of thing where it is an ETB effect. It is, it goes into tokens decks or it just makes very efficient creatures.
Yeah, the thing is like 2 creatures off 1 card is always going to be good.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's the one where I look at it and I'm like, they're going to print something that is at least playable in our format. With Energize, like, I don't know, currently our payoff is like a bad disfigure.
Right.
So it's going to have to, we're going to have to kind of wait and see. And I'm excited, definitely.
Yeah, the set has a lot of promise. It's very unique.
Also, one of the things, like, look back at Eldritch Moon. I was super pumped on Emerge. How many cards do we get with Emerge printed on it?
2.
This time, we only have 3 mechanics that we know about. I'm pretty sure they said those are all of them. It means we're going to get a big density, which means there's a higher chance of seeing, a mechanic I like with a playable card. So, I don't know. The big thing is going to be seeing whether or not they have messed up Energize. That's the one that...
Right. It's a free resource in a game where no resource is free.
Yeah,
right?
all that like matters to me is like how it interacts. Like, so we've got a spoil. There's a card that's been spoiled. It's a common. It's 1 and a green for sorcery speed. Target creature gets +4/+4, which isn't great, but it was previewed as a huge like poster-sized card at the street fair. The bottom half of it is covered up. People have been speculating that you can pump energy into it and it does something, or that energy is an alternate casting cost for it. And if we get to the point where we start seeing alternate casting costs, all I can say is there's a reason that Gush is very good in our format.
Right.
So...
Gush, Phyrexian mana.
Yeah, anytime you can cheat around a mana cost, that's when the busted stuff starts happening. So
yeah.
It really comes down to, are they going to treat energy on cards at common level as kicker, or are they going to treat it as alternate casting cost? Because one of those things is significantly more busted than the other.
Right.
Wizards, please don't give us another Ancestral Recall. Please.
Wizards,
please don't do it. I don't care how many hoops you have to jump through for it.
Please bust this format wide open, Wizards.
I don't want to have to sit through another Treasure Cruise
More
format.
Treasure Cruise.
It was so tiring. It was so incredibly tiring.
Yeah, Delve is a good Delve. Delve's
Yeah.
a good mechanic. Delve and Affinity. We talked about two of them. Those are both great mechanics because they cheat mana costs.
Yeah. So again, I'm super optimistic. Everything we've seen so far is promising. There's some sweet stuff for like other formats. I don't know if you saw the artifact that just says whenever a creature or artifact entering the battlefield would trigger an ability, it triggers it again.
I have opinions about that card. 4 mana is a lot. I think it's going to see playing Commander, and that's about it.
Yeah. I feel like it's just combo bait, though. There's something really, really dumb that happens with it. Also, it's only creatures you control, so you can't, like, for example, like bring it in to combat Persist.
Right.
But I don't know. It's one of those weird things where I guess like double Oblivion Rings.
Sure.
It's a triggered ability when it enters the battlefield.
The big killer for me is that it costs 4 mana. If it costs like 3 mana, I would be a little worried. But
if it costs 3 mana, I would be very worried for any format that isn't standard and watching what happens.
But four is almost unplayable in Modern, and in Legacy, it has to be Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, it has to be that level of busted. Although, what about Mud?
Okay, but then what triggered ETB abilities do we have in Mud?
Spine of Ishshaw?
All right, I'll give you that one.
I don't think it's going to be, like all-star multi-format, every format it fits in.
Yeah, I think it's less broken than it looks at first. I think it's definitely a strong card. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think it's going to be...
I think it's a rules nightmare. I think
it's going to stay in Commander, mostly.
Yeah, it's definitely going to find a home in Commander. It's a question as to whether or not it finds homes at other places. But yeah, I'm definitely like super optimistic on this set, and I can't wait to see the rest of the spoilers, which we're going to have to wait like 3 weeks for.
No, we're not going to get new ones tomorrow? Monday, I mean?
I think there's some amount, because, for example, that common card that had the bottom half of it hidden, it did say they were revealing it on Monday.
Okay.
So I guess... Actually, yeah, I think proper spoiler season starts tomorrow, doesn't it?
Sweet.
Oh, boy. I'm excited.
Me too.
As always.
We'll be... doing another set review, I'm sure, at some point.
Yes.
As well as I think we're going to try and do a recap over the Eldritch Moon EMA Conspiracy 2 season, which is going to be awkward because it was 3 sets released over the span of one. But we're going to try and get in there and basically do a recap of the past season of Pauper.
See what we already knew. I mean, there's certain interesting observations that can be made, but it's going to be a lot of talking about Drake. It's been a while.
We haven't. What card? I don't know what you're talking about.
I just have selective amnesia. I have just, every time I hear the word Drake, I just punch myself right in the throat and pass out.
That's some kind of dragon, isn't it?
I think so. I think
some
that's
sort of sea dragon.
Is that what it is? Is that the difference between a drake and a dragon?
That's how Magic defines it anyway. All the drakes are blue, basically.
Oh, true.
All the worms are green.
Yeah.
And all the actual dragons are red. Or most of them are. Skitherix is a black.
Yeah, I was gonna say for actual dragons, I think they're primarily red, but they're all over the color.
Yeah, but like green is primarily worms, and I think blue is primarily drakes.
All right. Well, I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping this one up. We're right around an hour. Take us out, Adrian.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for today. Thanks to Pat's Games for giving us a place to play weekly Pauper, as well as some dope streams. And thanks to Elle for the use of his song Quantitative as our theme music. You can find his music and other great tracks on SoundCloud under the name LLL. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. We're also on iTunes, and if you subscribe there, please leave a written review because it really helps us out. If you have an idea for a discussion topic or a deck list you'd like us to discuss, you can either use the contact form on our website or email us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. I'm Adrian Gonzalez.
And I'm Michael Petchak.
And we're signing off for Color Commentary.